Well, back in the shop, and as you can see, I have my linings all glued up on the mold, which has the ribs attached to it, and I'm getting ready to pull all the clamps, and then I'll flip it over and sand it on my sanding board here. Before I do that, I'll talk a little about, I've been getting some questions. People have been asking me about where you get the tools to make violins. And the answer is just about everywhere. There's specialty shops that sell them, and then some you have to make. And I'll just go over a few. Probably the ones used the most are gouges. And use that to remove a lot of wood. And you have several sizes. This is a big one, a little one. I got maybe 5 or 6 gouges I really use per violin. And they're all different sizes and that, but they all serve a different function when you're carving the scroll or removing a lot of wood from the plates. And another thing you use are chisels. And these chisels are invaluable. I mean, they do a lot of the work. Another thing is knives. I made a lot of my knives because they're specialties, and then you buy some, and this little knife here is sharper than all get out, and it gets in where you need to go. But then you have small planes, and these run the gamut. This one is I got it off of eBay. It's a Chinese one, and I was really kind of hesitant to buy it because it was fairly cheap and it's Chinese. But it's actually, I use this a lot. It stays sharp, and I had a lot of work to sharpen it, but once it's sharp, it seems to stay sharp, which surprised me. Then I have a USA made plane here, and it's a good plane too, and it does the job that it needs to do. But then you have scrapers. This is kind of a unique scraper. It's thick, and but it's shaped for when you're scraping different parts of the violin. The shape is just right, and it stays sharp. A lot of times I use glass, broken pieces of glass to scrape with too. That works real well. And then there's like this is for when you are working on the bridge. That's a specialty tool. You have peg shapers, which are basically big pencil sharpeners, but these are a real pain in the butt to set right. And once you get them set, you want to keep them that way. And then there's other tools you make for marking and sound post. You have to move the sound post around inside. There's special tools for that. And you want to know what I use more than anything to set it? A piece of wire. But I bought this and it works. And you got a little tool for measuring how big the sound post is inside. And it's just a lot of different tools, and you can find them on eBay, on Amazon, and International Violin Company sells a lot of tools. Stuart Mac has a few tools. Like I bought this little file from Stuart Mac, and I thought it was going to be when I got it, I was really disappointed. But it's turned out I use it quite a bit, so it's pretty good. But you use a lot of files, and files come in all price ranges. And I can tell you, spend the money and get a decent file because it removes the wood quick and it's smooth. And that's just about it for now. As far as wood goes, if you're just starting out, yeah, you're going to ruin a lot of pieces of wood. So you better start with some cheap wood. And I started with 2x4s. And there's a guy on YouTube that made a violin. He calls it his Home Depot violin. And he shows how to prepare the top wood, the spruce. And basically you cut it so all the grain is running the right way and glue a bunch of pieces together. And that worked really well. I was surprised how well it worked and how they sound. And that's, it's a cheap way to practice. And when you're done, your violin will play, but then you move on to your next one, you improve. Eventually you'll want to buy a good piece of tonewood. And I buy mine from International Violin or Metropolitan Music Company. And I actually like the Metropolitan Music Company wood better. It just seems like it's more straight grained and that. But the International Violin wood's good too. As for the backs, the sides, and the neck, generally I use maple, but I've been known to use I made a cedar violin. I made a couple walnuts violins, an oak violin. The oak violins are really fun to work with because the wood carves really well and it looks good. And here's one of the necks that I just started with really for an oak or for a walnut. And I always run a piece of maple down the middle and laminate it. And because that gives it just a little more strength. And that's kind of important on the neck. And that's all I got for that kind of stuff. Let's get started on this. And I basically just start pulling these clamps. These clamps are another specialty item. You gotta have them. I was using clothespins that I wrapped some rubber bands around to give them a little bit of strength. And they worked well. And then I was at Harbor Freight and I seen these little clamps here, and there was like 10 of them for $1.50. And I thought, what the heck, I'll try them. And these things are great. The only trouble was I can't find them in Harbor Freight anymore. I'd buy more of them. And other clamps I use, clamps like this. Now, I bought these at Harbor Freight, and they were at the time like $1 a piece. And I bought 20 of them, and they were great. But you'll need other clamps too, and some of them you can make, and some you just gotta bite the bullet and buy them. But it's important. Then you have to have your hide glue, and I mean there's a lot of things. A violin has 70 wood parts, so that is quite a few parts. So as you can see, I got the linings glued in, and now I just turn over. They're standing proud of my ribs, and I have to sand them on the sanding board, and that's just sandpaper glued to a real flat board. And it comes down. Then, after this is down, and while it's still attached to the mold, I'll turn it over. I mark a center line. This is the piece of wood I'm going to use for the back. And I have center lines on this. I have a center line on my mold where I want, because basically you got stripes and all that on there. I line it up to where I want it, and then I trace it around with a sharp pencil and do a tracing. That's the first tracing. Then I take a little washer, and that gives me my edge. And you just put your pencil in like that and trace around, and it gives you just a little bigger around the edges. And then I bring it to the bandsaw. I cut it proud of that mark, and then you have your back cut out. And then the whole process of shaping that starts. Then, during that time, I'll pop the ribs out of the mold and do the other side of the ribs with the lining, glue them in, and then basically all I have to do is trim the blocks and shape them, clean the inside up, and the ribs and the blocks are done. And then you're just working on the top and the bottom, and then you have to do the neck. But after I finish the back, I usually glue on my ribs to the back, and then I take that and trace the top on, because I don't want things moving. It's just better to have them stabilized, and it works real well for me. So that's all I got this time. Next time this will be cut out and we'll be working on it. So thanks for watching.